Thank God for another day. I'm happy to be here with you. Today I'm talking on a question I was asked on a WhatsApp platform, which was, how do we keep the marriage going, or how do we keep the happiness in the marriage when children begin to come in or when we start giving birth? Now, I'll take it from various angles and talk about something very important that we should study as we want to marry right, as we are treating the theme marrying right. Now, when children come in, they distort the normal flow in the marriage. Children come in, they especially get our wives and our women occupied, and we the men going to help as and when, because our mothers or our wives are the ones breastfeeding them. They tend to be stuck in a whole lot of stress and then distorts the normal flow in the marriage. So what do we do? Before I go to that, or before I begin to answer that, I want to talk about something else. Every marriage and its ability to survive depends on the flow or the element that was present in the beginning continuing to the end. Now, every marriage survives on certain elements or certain happenings within the marriage. Now, at the beginning, when the marriage is good and is ongoing, sometimes we see the happiness, we see the joy because certain elements are present. Some marriages, let me use a typical marriage so that you understand. Some marriages, you have, they may be going or moving together all the time, and because they move together, they chat a lot and they do a lot of things in common at the beginning of the marriage. Now, as the marriage grows, maybe they now have 2 cars, they're becoming financially strong, they do not move together anymore, they move in separate vans, they come home different times. The man has now occupied new position, the woman has occupied new position, and for that reason they don't have time to move together. The man's work has taken to a different area. They started a marriage where they bonded every night and every day and every hour together. Now the man has been transferred outside the region, and for that matter there is a distance, there is a gap. Now the marriage, this is the problem. This is what marriage couples to identify. When you marry, you must identify the elements that is making the marriage work. Identify the things that made you guys happy. Identify what made you happy and what kept you going. Our ability to identify that is about 60% going to help us sustain the marriage and get to marital death do us part. But when we are not able to identify those elements that has carried us to the stage where we are, we may not maintain that same posture going into the future. When you're able to identify the element that kept you going, you then know how to maintain it or how to modernize it in your new structure or in the new environment you guys find yourself. It is very key that we understand that. I'll elaborate on it more when I'm talking about the causes of divorce and what takes the happiness in the marriage. There are some marriage couples that were very happy because at the beginning of the marriage they were walking a distance together. They will always walk together. Now one party have a car and they don't get a chance to work together, and that has break the communication. When I'm talking about the causes of the hidden causes of divorce, and also when I'm talking about the barriers in communication and how come communication seems not to be working anymore in the marriage, I'll elaborate more on those areas. Now let's come to the question, what must we do when the children begins to come in? Now when children begins to come in, they distort the flow. Whichever element used to be present will be distorted. Now it is key, as I've said in the beginning, for us to identify the element that keeps the joy in our marriage. If we are able to identify, some couples, even the fact that they eat together alone or the fact that they sleep on the same bed together. Sometimes when children come in at the early stage, even it is very difficult to sleep by your partner because the child wants to breastfeed. You can't hug each other as you used to hug each other on bed. The bed is now overcrowded with a third party who is very fragile. The inconveniences with that will break whatever used to exist. So what do? We should first of all identify our element, what worked for us, what made us happy, and try and maintain and modernize it to suit the current situation where we have a new child. We must modernize it. And when we are able to modernize it, or when we are able to keep that going, we will still keep the love as it used to be. It's very important. The second aspect has to do with the man and the woman remembering that they are still husband and wife, and they should still play that role. The most important thing for us to identify that before we were playing only one role, a husband and a wife. Now, with the coming in of a child, we have an additional role, a father and mother role. Now, the biggest problem with most marriages is that we tend to play the new role, which is the mother and father role, neglecting the husband and wife role. And that is what leads most marriages, or kills the joy, the happiness, and leads most marriages into divorce, cheating, unfaithfulness, because we fail to play the husband and the wife role. We were playing that role from the beginning. With the introduction and the blessing of a new kid, we now have another role, which is a mother and a father. We must learn to blend these two roles, mother and father, and husband and wife. We must modernize our new structure to enable us to enjoy and play both roles. But what really happens is that because a new child comes in, we all shift our concentration there, which is not bad. But bear in mind that the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of emptiness, the feeling of love as husband and wife will still exist. So if we neglect those roles, what will happen is that we will eventually lose touch with what made us happy, with how we used to be, and think that nothing seems to be working. We may easily fall for other praise or other people outside the relationship because they tend to satisfy the emotional role for the husband and the emotional role for the wife. That is why most couples cheat when they have new babies or when their wives are pregnant and stuff. The concentration shifts from the husband and wife role to the mother and father role. We must learn to blend these two. When we master these two and blend it perfectly, we will be okay and the marriage will not suffer. But if we don't learn to blend the two, the marriage will suffer. Especially our women sometimes are overstressed with taking care of the kids, and for that matter, they neglect their wife responsibility, and they want the man to understand that, oh, there's pressure here, forgetting that although she being the one breastfeeding, she spends more time with the kid. The man also comes in as and when to play an emotional part. So the man is playing his role as a father. You, the wife, you are playing your role as a mother, which seems healthy, but you can't neglect your role as a wife. You have to be there for your husband. The questions you used to ask him, how you used to play with him. Yes, he understands that you are going through a lot. Immediately the wife activates the wife's role, the husband automatically activates the husband's role. You see, when the children come in, our new role is a mother and father, and we all concentrate there. And the man, being an analyst, which is a normal attribute of a man, will say that the wife is stressed, she's tired, so he may not try to play the other role as a husband. But our wives will also take that position that I'm stressed, I am tired as a mother, and I need rest. It's time for you to play your father role, and they go to sleep. No, the man will play the father role and neglect the husband role and go and play the husband role outside the marriage. As time goes on, the wife will see that the husband is no more playing the husband role, so you also go out there and find someone who can play the husband role for her, and that brings about unfaithfulness and cheating. What must we do? We must combine the two roles. Although we are stressed, although we are tired, and for the woman especially, if you begin to activate your wife role, your husband will definitely activate the husband role. But when you create the environment like, I have played my mother role, it is time for you to play your father role. Come and play your father role because I've played my mother role. The husband will switch off the husband role and play the father role, and after he has played the father role, will neglect her role as a husband. And as that continues, their need for emotional support, our need for love, our need for each other will surface. Therefore, we must learn to combine, and I always advise that especially our wives, our women, should always activate their wife role. Ensure that you are meeting that emotional needs. It's not always about sex, it's about emotional needs. Being there for your husband, asking him what is going on, looking at his facial expression, asking him how was the job, being there to as the one he can speak to, not someone who comes in and say, you are the husband, we need this is finished, we need that. Always that being the focal point. And after we have asked all the things we need, we stop talking about anything and we stop discussion. And all the discussion from us as husband and wife is now about the child. We are neglecting ourselves. We must work towards that. We must do everything in our power to ensure that we are discussing us as we discuss that of the case. We must do everything that at least we play a 50% role or 100% role as a mother and a father, and at least play a 70% role as a husband and wife. Have you eaten, Annie? What should I get for you? Oh, my wife, is there anything you need? Can I help you in any way? Oh, I want to sit by you. Today I want to hold you in my hand. Oh, today I want to, when I was coming, I bought this for you. Let's continue to play the husband and wife role within the father and mother, because as we are fathers and mothers, we will forever be fathers and mothers. As we have started giving birth, we should not neglect the husband and wife role. So thank you for being here with me, and I hope I've been a blessing to you. Let me say that next. Bye.